Alright, what is up guys? Losomaniac here, and today I thought I'd redo a video I made because looking back at that video, it was pretty damn awkward. And so I figured for some people who just can't sit by and with all the awkwardness of that, understandable enough, I barely sat through that rewatching the video, I decided how about I redo it. And yeah, so this is the Who Should You Side With in Nuka-World. Um, yeah, I also kind of messed up a bit. I kind of forgot to, I either talked about the wrong perk, or I added more information that just wasn't allowed anywhere. Or I just added information that shouldn't have been there. So, yeah, and now that I have, a sort of script or a list of stuff. Hold on, sorry, you have to see my dirty fingers. I figured that now that I have a way to make a list of stuff, I can now, instead of having to memorize everything, I can just tell you what you get for each gang, as well as going off of this, I can tell you what, like, sort of gang fits with your playstyle, if you have one, whether it's your build or just how you choose to play. Although I will be honest, this is just going to be more based off playstyle as opposed to role-playing skills. So based off, like, how to get the best out of these for your certain build, just because I feel like if you actually wanted to side with these characters for how they are, then you would probably know how each of them work by now. So yeah, so first I should mention that we are gonna start from the Nuka-World market and work all the way up to Fist Top Mountain, just like how it was in the original video. So yeah, so the first sort of group we will be going over is the pack. Now the pack, if you side with them, you get the Furious Puncturing Bat, and yes, they do specify on the wiki it is a puncturing bat. Sorry, I'm gonna angle it up here. So, yeah, the other modifications for the bat are randomized, to my knowledge anyways. I have gotten different sort of, modifications for it, but it is a puncturing baseball bat, or it could just be a regular baseball bat. But on the wiki, it says it's a puncturing bat. And the Furious legendary effect, for some of you guys who don't know, make it to where it does increased damage when, per every consecutive hit on the same target. Which is really good to have, but for a slow baseball bat, doesn't really seem to work out pretty well. Maybe on like a faster weapon like the switchblade or the combat knife, just something that's a little bit more faster, or I would take medium. Something like that is fine, but for a slow sort of weapon like a baseball bat, just seems a bit not well for me, in my opinion anyways. Yeah. And with the perk you get for the pack, it is the Pack Alpha perk, which has 25% increased damage resistance across the board, and 25% extra melee and unarmed damage. Now, having this sort of perk is one that I highly advise you have, whether you play as a melee unarmed character or just a gun character, because at the very least you're getting the damage resistance, and the melee damage doesn't really concern to you a whole lot. If you do want to take advantage of the melee and unarmed damage, then you can, but overall this is one where if I have a character that doesn't really care about siding with the Nuka-World Raiders, then I always side with the pack. And depending on what character I play as, is these other two. Speaking of, we move on to the operators. So the operators, when you side with them, they give you a Relentless Operator Sniper Rifle, which for some of you guys who don't know, the Relentless legendary effect makes it to where all of your action points is refilled after every critical shot, after every critical hit. And something like that is a really good thing to have if you don't plan on using Grim Reaper Sprint. However, the Grim Reaper Sprint is still a pretty good perk to have anyways, so having something like the Relentless can be a bit situational, but if that's something you'd like to have, you can absolutely can. And the Ace and the perk that you get for the operators is the Ace Operator perk, which makes it to where you have a negative 10% visibility in shadows, which means you are not as easily you're not easily visible in shadows by like 10%. And you have a 25% damage increase with silenced weapons. This is one I advise you guys have if you are doing a stealth gun character. Whether you're using the Deliverer or whatever. And if you do want to take full advantage of the negative 10 visibility in shadows, you can also have shadowed armor. Something like that is pretty useful to have with shadowed armor, because better to be safe than sorry, you know? I guess the operators is more stealth oriented, which is something that, well, obviously, which is something that's pretty good to have if you're like me and you love stealth characters. Now, we move on to probably one that I use a lot in some of my characters, or it's one that I go to because my favorite character is Fudge Muppet's Assassin build, and it is the Disciples. Now, the Disciples give you an instigating Disciples Cutlass. This is something that's pretty fun to have, especially if you play a stealth melee character. It is pretty good to have as sort of like a main sort of melee weapon, especially if you use Pikmin's Blade. You can use Pikmin's Blade as sort of a backup if you are facing off against enemies that don't have full health. Because, for some guys who don't know, the Instigating Legendary effect makes it to where it does increased damage when the target is at full health. So having a weapon like this is pretty amazing to have. And yeah, and with the Instigating Disciples Cutlass, combine that with Ninja and all of that stuff, you are getting a shit ton of damage. Yeah, that was English, sorry. The perk you get for signing with the Disciples is Chosen Disciple. This one is kind of dependent on how you have your action point perks, because what the Chosen Disciple does is that for melee kills, it refills 25% action points, which means if you kill an enemy, it refills your action points by 25%. Now, depending on the perk that you have, this can either be really useful or really useless. Personally, for me, that also depends on if that's what you believe. Personally, I do think that if you have like the Action Boy or Girl perk, especially if you have all the DLCs to go along with it, if you get level 3 Action Girl, it just makes it to where your action points, sorry, I got a call from someone. So I'm a bit like distracted at the moment. Let me back up a bit. Let me go back. So depending on what DLCs you have, having Action Boy and Girl, if that's something you have, once you get level 3 of Action Boy or Girl, I'm just gonna say Girl because I play as a female a lot. If you get Action Girl, up to level 3, that's a 75% increase of action point refresh speed, or refill speed, or refills your action points by 75%, which is pretty quick to have. So something like Chosen Disciple is pretty out there, you know? So yeah, having something like that is pretty niche. I was trying to make sure that they call it. That was all. Yeah, I should also mention the fact that I forgot about this. Ace Operator, the 25% increased damage with silenced weapons, does work with Deacon's perk, Ninja, and Mr. Sandman, obviously. I think it works more like Deacon's perk, but I'm not sure. I saw somewhere that it works well with Ninja, Mr. Sandman, and Deacon's perk. So yeah, just do keep that in mind, that if you do use Deacon as a sort of like companion to have the perk for, do keep in mind that Ace Operator would be pretty good if you were using silenced weapons. And yeah, so how I would use each of these, if I'm playing like a sniper characters, I would use the pack and the operators, because I do plan on using silenced weapons if I play as a sniper character. But if you are playing as a gun character, or just a stealth character overall, you could possibly invest in the Ace Operator for the visibility and shadows. But personally for me, I just use the Disciples instead of the Operators, and I use the pack especially if I am playing a melee character, because having that melee, that increased melee damage combined with the instigating Disciples Cutlass, along with the fact that melee kills refill 25% of action points, is a very nice thing to have. So with this, use this as sort of a way to kind of figure out, like, you know, what perks and weapons fit your character best. And yeah, you can go from there. With that being said, hopefully I covered everything that you guys want. Obviously, if you are playing as a Nuka-World Raider boss, if that's who you're role-playing as, you can obviously pick from which one you want. That is up to you. But if you are playing as like someone who doesn't really care about the Nuka-World Raider Gangs, and you're just in it for the perks and weapons, if you plan on using them, like I mentioned before, the only one I ever really used is the instant gain Disciples Cutlass, although for my survival sniper character, I do plan on using the Relentless Operator Sniper Rifle. There's that. But other than that, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below. What sort of Raider games do you usually side with? Personally, even though I do like the Operators, I don't side with them as often as I thought I would. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you do subscribe, hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload, because I don't have a schedule. Last time I uploaded was like 2 months ago, I think. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Losermanic out.